As our country's streets lay deserted and quiet in the midst of our global pandemic, the sounds of American protesters have gone largely silent until now.
Our new normal does not mean that we will sacrifice our freedoms for our safety.
This morning in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, hundreds of protesters defied the state stay-at-home order and lined the streets in front of the state capitol.
Get me liberty or get me death!
To voice their frustrations around their state's lockdown.
I don't think it's a good thing for our economy or our country to shut down businesses, because in the end, who's going to pay for it?
For the past few days, this sentiment has moved throughout the country in small pockets.
We had a really smoking economy.
Many of the protests organized by conservative groups. But for some, their reasons go beyond politics.
We want to go back to work.
From Wisconsin to Colorado to Maryland. At the same time, the death toll climbing, now topping 42,000, including some of the youngest victims we've seen, like 5-year-old Skylar Herbert. Making this a difficult and heated debate about how and when to reopen America.
Unless we get the virus under control, the real recovery economically is not going to happen. So what you do if you jump the gun and go into a situation where you have a big spike, you're going to set yourself back.
On Friday, the president tweeted some states needed to be, quote, liberated. Today, he said he's working with state governors to figure out how to reopen responsibly.
It's critical to continue the medical war while reopening the economy in a safe and responsible fashion.
People, I think, have forgotten that the original plan was not to get rid of coronavirus and not to stop any fatalities or hospitalizations, but to lower the peak. And it seems many places have begun to lower that peak.
On the streets of Harrisburg, some protesters say they need relief now.
As a small business owner, I want to stand up for my employees and our way of life to be able to earn a living.
Aaron Riddle says the governor's order has forced him to lay off 30 of his employees.
He's closed construction business. He's one of 5 states that deem construction non-essential, non-life sustaining, so I had to lay off my employees. We have no work.
We're exercising our First Amendment by saying that we think this is unfair and Americans need to get back to work.
Reopening the state shouldn't be a political issue. We voted in a governor, and we want to work with that governor.
Matthew Bellis organized this rally on Facebook.
We feel that the governor has really kept us in the dark, and we haven't had a voice yet to know exactly how and why the decisions are made to put this lockdown in place and what measures we're going to take to reopen the state. We're not subjects, we're citizens, we're free people. We need to know exactly what's happening with our government.
Protester Diana Shaffer agrees.
Let's start opening PA safely, and we're ready to get back to work.
Over a month out of work as a photographer and her pay as a part-time teacher's aide on pause, the single mother of 2 is starting to feel the effects of not being able to work.
Normally, at this time, I would be slammed with senior pictures. That is a huge seller in the spring, and also weddings start becoming prevalent. And instead, I just have a bunch of free time and frustration.
She says her views have been met with harsh criticism.
I was getting comments like, "You're part of the problem, you're going to kill everybody," things like that. Just really off the wall. I actually thought I would get more support, and I did not. At least not at first, until I realized there was a lot of people that felt the same way that I did, but they just didn't have the courage to speak out about it.
But she believes it's worth it.
I'm not sure if it'll make a difference with the governor's decision to reopen things, but at least he knows we have a voice and we're not going to back down.
Pennsylvania Governor Tom Wolf reacted to the protest by saying he will ease some restrictions on May 8th and allow limited construction to resume in the state as long as social distancing protocols are in place.
We have to figure out how to open up the workforce in a strategic and safe way. That may mean that we're masked. We may have to space out individual workstations. So those are the type of workplace infection control measures that will be necessary in order to make sure that we decrease the number of cases that we see.
Some governors are slowly reopening their states now. In Georgia, Governor Brian Kemp declared gyms, barbershops, bowling alleys can reopen on Friday. Texas will reopen some businesses on Friday as well.
I think we're going to see red states respond differently than blue states. And it's that balance of making sure that we can treat people that are sick in our hospitals while also understanding that we have to open up our economy at some point.
Certain states are going to be ready before others, and not just states, but even within the states. There may be certain towns or cities that have less cases than others, so those towns or cities could open up before other places within that state.
One of the first places in our country to kick off this kind of protest was Lansing, Michigan. Dubbed Operation Gridlock, more than 3,000 protesters took to their cars last Wednesday to oppose the governor of Michigan's stay-at-home order.
It's time for our state to be opened up. We're tired of not being able to buy the things that we need, go to the hairdressers, get our hair done. It's time to open up.
The protest was organized by a group called the Michigan Conservative Coalition.
My name is Marian Sheridan.
Marian Sheridan is the group's co-founder.
It was a great avenue for people to express their frustration with our governor and her heavy-handed policies.
Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer has imposed some of the strictest stay-at-home orders in the nation.
You are also not allowed to gather in groups of more than three or more people. I think that she just went too far. Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb counties have 85% of the corona cases in our state. So we have 80 other counties who have very few or none even corona cases, yet they're all being held under the same standard.
Is there any thought, though, that because this virus can spread so quickly, that those counties that don't have it currently, thank God, but it could very easily move there if there isn't one standard for the entire state?
Well, I think that people are very smart now. We learned we need to wash our hands, keep our social distancing. It needs common sense, and we really feel the governor is a little bit more interested in politics because she's a possible pick for the vice presidential candidacy.
Really? You don't think that her motivation is a love for your great state to keep her citizens safe? No?
Well, I just think that a great leader unites people, and a great leader doesn't criticize the federal government. You need to unite people and give people hope. And in Michigan, she has failed to do that.
But the purpose of the Lansing rally seemed to shift. Some protesters took to the steps of the state capitol armed with assault rifles.
What was the point of bringing weapons to the state capitol? What does that have to do with COVID-19? What does that have to do with the economy?
I think it just has to do with a show of constitutional rights. Our message was always consistently, stay in your cars, stay safe. I'm not going to claim any responsibility for the people on the lawn because we didn't encourage that.
Michigan is the third hardest hit state in the country. To date, over 30,000 have tested positive. More than 2,300 have died. But Sheridan says some attention must now be turned to getting Michigan's economy back up and running.
If the state economically is destroyed, we're going to ruin an awful lot of lives.
Dr. Fauci has said that unless we get the virus under control, economic recovery isn't going to happen.
Well, I agree with him. And I do see in Michigan it's starting to become under control. So why are we under these same stringent guidelines put out by the governor?
Less than 600 miles away, Diana Shaffer is wondering the same thing.
So our numbers have been going down and things are starting to be on the upswing. So I don't see why Pennsylvania wouldn't be considered one of the states to start May 1st.
Until then, she hopes people will see that although her view is different, people will respect it.
There has to be a middle ground here where we all understand each other and know that we're in the same battle, but we can't be spewing hate back and forth.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.